I've lived 79 years, read hundreds of self-help books, listened to thousands of pieces of advice, and 99% of it was complete garbage. There's only one piece of advice that actually changed my life. Just one. Everything else was noise, distractions, things that sounded good but meant nothing when I actually tried to apply them. And here's the frustrating part. This advice is so simple that when I first heard it, I dismissed it. I thought it was too obvious, too basic. I kept looking for something deeper, something more complex, some secret formula that would unlock everything. I wasted decades searching for complicated answers when the simple one was sitting right in front of me the whole time. So I'm going to tell you what it is. But more importantly, I'm going to tell you why it works and why everything else fails. Because understanding the difference between useful advice and useless noise is the skill that will save you from making the same mistakes I did. If you're looking for life-changing advice, stop reading books. Stop listening to podcasts. Stop collecting quotes on Instagram, because none of that matters compared to this one thing. Let me start by telling you about all the advice that didn't work, the stuff I tried, the stuff that failed, the stuff that cost me years of my life. When I was in my 20s, everyone told me to set goals, write them down, make them specific and measurable, create a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, know exactly where you want to be and work backward from there. So I did that. I spent weeks creating the perfect plan. I knew exactly what I wanted, where I'd live, what job I'd have, how much money I'd make, what my life would look like at 30, 40, 50. You know what happened? None of it worked out the way I planned. Not even close. I got a different job than I'd planned for, in a different city, making different money. And all those detailed goals I'd written down, they became anchors. They made me rigid. They made me miss opportunities because they didn't fit my plan. I spent my 30s stressed and disappointed because my life didn't match the vision I'd created when I was 25. Like I'd somehow failed because reality didn't cooperate with my blueprint. That's bad advice. Not because goal setting is wrong, but because it's incomplete. It's a tool, not a philosophy. And when people treat it like the secret to success, it becomes a trap. Then in my 40s, everyone told me to focus on work-life balance. Don't work too hard. Make time for family. Take vacations. Prioritize self-care. Sounds great, right? Except it's nonsense. Because balance implies equal weight. Like you should spend the same amount of energy on work as you do on family, as you do on hobbies, as you do on yourself. But that's not how life works. Sometimes work needs more. Sometimes family needs more. Sometimes you need more. Balance isn't static. It shifts constantly. And when you try to force equal distribution, you end up doing everything poorly instead of doing the important things well. I spent years feeling guilty. Guilty when I worked late because I wasn't with my family. Guilty when I took time for myself because I wasn't working. Guilty when I focused on my family because my career was stalling. The advice to find balance just gave me 3 different reasons to feel like I was failing. That's bad advice too. Not because rest isn't important, but because framing it as balance sets you up to lose. You're always going to be out of balance somewhere. That's not failure. That's life. Then in my 50s, people started telling me to live in the moment, be present, practice mindfulness, stop worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. Just be here now. I tried that too. Meditation, breathing exercises, mindfulness apps, all of it. And you know what I learned? Living completely in the moment is a luxury most people can't afford, because the moment doesn't pay your mortgage. The moment doesn't save for retirement. The moment doesn't prepare you for the future. I watch people my age embrace this philosophy so completely that they stopped planning ahead, stopped saving money, stopped thinking about what came next, because they were too busy being present. Then they hit 65 with no savings and a whole lot of presents. Congratulations, you were mindful while your future collapsed. That's bad advice too. Not because presence isn't valuable, but because taken to its extreme, it becomes irresponsible. You can't live entirely in the moment and also build a secure future. You need both. So after trying all of these things and watching them fail, I started asking a different question. What advice actually worked? Not what sounded good. Not what made me feel inspired. What actually produced results. And I looked at the people around me who seemed to have their lives together. Not perfect lives, but stable, content, moving forward instead of spinning in circles. They weren't the ones with the most elaborate plans. They weren't the ones obsessed with balance. They weren't the ones meditating 4 hours a day. They were the ones doing one thing consistently. Something so simple I almost missed it. They showed up every single day for the things that mattered to them. That's it. That's the only advice that actually matters. Show up. Not some days. Not when you feel like it. Not when conditions are perfect. Every day. Consistently. Without excuses. And here's why this works when everything else fails. Showing up is binary. You either did it or you didn't. There's no confusion. No interpretation. No way to lie to yourself about whether you're doing it. Goals can be fuzzy. Did I make progress toward my goal today? Maybe. Depends how you measure it. Depends how you frame it. Easy to convince yourself you're doing fine when you're not. Balance can be manipulated. I worked 8 hours, but I also had dinner with my family, so I'm balanced. Except you were on your phone the whole dinner. But you can tell yourself it counts. Presence can be faked. I sat quietly for 10 minutes, so I was present, except your mind was racing the whole time. But you went through the motions. Showing up can't be faked. Either you showed up or you didn't. Either you went to the gym or you stayed home. Either you called your friend or you didn't. Either you worked on your project or you made excuses. It's measurable. It's honest. It's real. And here's the other reason it works. Showing up compounds. One day at the gym doesn't matter. Showing up 100 days in a row changes your body. One conversation with your kid doesn't matter. Showing up every night for dinner for 10 years builds a relationship. 1 hour working on your business doesn't matter. Showing up every morning for 5 years builds something real. Consistency is the only thing that creates lasting change. Not inspiration, not motivation, not perfect plans. Consistency. And showing up is how you create consistency. Now let me tell you what happened when I finally figured this out. I was 62, retired, honestly kind of lost. My kids were grown. My wife had passed a few years earlier. I didn't really know what to do with myself. I'd always wanted to write, had ideas for stories, characters, plots, but I'd never done it because I was waiting for inspiration, waiting for the perfect idea, waiting for enough time. And at 62, I realized I'd been waiting my whole life. So I made a commitment. I was going to show up at my desk every morning at 8 and write for 1 hour. That's it. 1 hour every day. I didn't set a word count goal. I didn't create an elaborate outline. I didn't wait for inspiration. I just showed up. Some days I wrote 2,000 words. Some days I wrote 50. Some days I just stared at the screen. But I showed up. After a year, I had a finished novel. Not a great novel, but a finished one. Something that existed. Something I'd created by showing up when I didn't want to. I'm 79 now. I've written 8 books, published 4 of them. They're not bestsellers, but people read them. People tell me they enjoyed them. And I get to call myself a writer because I showed up for 17 years straight. That would never have happened with goals, or balance, or mindfulness. It only happened because I showed up. And here's what I see now. The people struggling the most are the ones obsessing over the wrong things. They're reading books about productivity instead of just doing the work. They're watching videos about motivation instead of taking action. They're planning and strategizing and optimizing instead of showing up. They think there's a secret, a hack, a shortcut, some piece of advice that will make everything easier. There isn't. The only thing that works is showing up consistently, over time, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. You want to lose weight? Show up to the gym every day for months. That's it. You want a better relationship? Show up for your partner every day. Listen, Be present. Do the work. You want to learn a skill? Show up to practice every day, even when you suck, even when it's frustrating. You want to build wealth? Show up to work. Save money. Invest every month for decades. There's no magic. There's no secret. There's just showing up. And the beautiful thing about this advice is that it applies to everything. It's universal. It's simple. And it's completely within your control. You can't control outcomes. You can't control whether your book gets published, or your business succeeds, or your relationship lasts. There are too many variables outside your control. But you can control whether you show up. That's entirely up to you. Every single day, you get to decide, am I showing up today or not? And the people who consistently choose to show up, they're the ones who build the lives they want. Not because they're smarter, not because they're luckier, because they showed up more often than everyone else. I wasted 40 years looking for complicated advice, trying to optimize, trying to find the perfect system, trying to hack my way to success. And in the end, the only thing that mattered was the simplest thing: show up. If I could go back and tell my 20-year-old self one thing, it would be this: stop reading, stop planning, stop waiting for perfect conditions. Just pick the thing that matters most to you and show up for it every day. No excuses. For years, that's the only advice that actually works. Everything else is just a distraction from the one thing you actually need to do. Show up. I'm 79 years old, and the only reason I'm not full of regret is because eventually I figured this out. I started showing up, and I kept showing up until showing up became who I was. You don't need another book, another course, another piece of advice. You just need to show up tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. That's it. That's everything. Subscribe if you're ready to stop planning and start showing up.